And we are live on Facebook with Isaac Hess, 5'11", 175-pound left-handed pitcher. He was signed out of Indy Ball by the Padres and the Red Sox. He played 7 seasons professionally, and he is the founder of CageList. But we're going to talk some baseball here, and I want to know about your baseball journey. But before we get into that and you tell us about all that and your experience, what is CageList?
CageList is our newly launched platform also. Thanks for having me, by the way. This is awesome.
Thanks for being on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. CageList is a long work in progress. We just launched it, and just at the beginning of April. It's like the AirBNB of backyard batting cages. So,
Sweet.
as a coach, as a private coach who does lessons, full time now, I've always had a little bit of a challenge finding, reliable spaces to be able to train my players. And here, especially out in LA, there's not very many indoor facilities that are an option. One, traffic's terrible, and they're pretty expensive. You're looking at probably at least like $40, $50 an hour, and sometimes even more depending on what you're doing. So you're usually left with like a park, which sometimes you're not even supposed to do lessons at parks, but that's usually what I do. So I've always wanted to have a place that I could rely on, like a batting cage, to be able to take my players. And I know dads want the same thing for their players, and then teams that need other places to practice. So when so many people in the United States have a backyard batting cage sitting empty for so many of the hours of the day, it only makes sense for the baseball and softball community to be able to allow a platform to have those, families not only have an opportunity to make some money off of it, but also to provide a space that is another option for the local players in their neighborhood. Or, so now when we get the app rolling, which hopefully should be launched in a few months as well. Right now it's just a website. But when we get that rolling, it should be just like Airbnb, where if you roll into town, you need a spot, you can look it up and then look and see what batting cages are in your neighborhood, and then just seamlessly rent it online and then go and use it, and you're good.
That's so cool, man. You know what's funny is I used to drive when I was training guys. I used to drive over an hour to get to a facility. I live in just outside of Orlando, south of Orlando, and the facility I worked at was over an hour away. But on my way, there was this house with a cage in the backyard. I'd never seen anybody in the cage ever, and I always saw it every single day I drove by, and it was like 10 minutes from my house as opposed to an hour. I was like, man, I wish I could just go there instead of driving all the way down here, and that's funny that, now you have the CageList. That would be a perfect fit right there.
Right. And I mean, you the majority of people that have batting cages are the people that are, full on travel ball, like super dedicated, or maybe the dad's just extra and he bought a batting cage when the kid was like 6. You never know. But either way, they're destined to be baseball people. So you're going to interact with some quality people that are going to be like-minded, and probably grow your own network as well as you use other batting cages. You never know what's going to happen from stuff like that. And I think people now will really prioritize, not going cheap on their batting cage. If they're going to get the nice turf, they're going to get the nice Iron Mike pitching machine. If they know that it's going to be an investment that they can put on the CageList, then they're going to make a nice quality upfront investment in a quality space so that they can use it, and then it can pay for itself over time. So,
speaking of price, how much does it cost to sign up, and how does someone sign up?
super easy to sign up. It's free. It's still free. It might not always be free right now. It's free right now, but it might not always be free. So we encourage you to go and list your cage now. We plan on having it always be free for users. Don't mark my words on that. But currently it's free for users and it's free for cage owners. We're trying to build up the inventory of batting cages right now so that, there's more and more over the United States. So if you know somebody or if you own a cage, then we encourage you to go on the site. It's just cagelist.com. There's a little button in the top right corner. It says list your cage. It takes about 5 minutes to go through and you list out what you have included, you know, if you include baseballs, if you include pitching machine and or pitching mound and stuff as well. And then you just try to soup up your listing with good pictures as well. And then once we get a good user base on there, then it'll look appealing and it'll pop up when somebody's in your area.
Now, is this just for people with backyard batting cages, or can facilities sign up who have batting cages in there and rent them out? How does that work?
Indoor facilities can also use our platform, and we haven't really determined the exact path on what we're going to take with those, but we encourage indoor facilities to use our platform as well. You know, you book through our site, so we take a small commission. We take a 15% commission on each booking, since we've created this platform and created a connection for all of this. So I don't know if that's going to be appealing to indoor facilities, but clearly as we grow, they're going to want to have exposure to be the indoor facility option as well, because there's going to be plenty of people that still want to go to the nicest facility possible, and they might drive a little extra, they might pay a little more, but the whole goal is to just be able to make it even more accessible for baseball and softball youth to train, and even college and pro guys. You know, if you're like a 19, 20-year-old and you just got drafted, or if you're in college and it's summer and you just don't got anybody to hit with, but now you look on CageList and all of a sudden there's an Iron Mike pitching machine and it's like $20 an hour to go rent the cage. Maybe you're just gonna go pay $20, get your work in, and get a ton of hacks, and then you got no excuses, you know. So we're excited. We really think that it's gonna change the development of the game and just create more accessibility for everybody. And like I said, like for those middle class Americans that, you know, it's kind of a stretch for them to invest in that batting cage, but the dad just felt so good when he got in the car and the 10-year-old just hit those 2 doubles, you know, and now the dad is just excited about the path of baseball for his son. So he wants to make it work, but it's $5,000 to make a nice cage. He can talk to his wife and he can say, hey, you know, let's invest in this. It's good for little Johnny, and it will be good for our family, a little side income, and it'll be good for the local people in our area to be able to come and use it. And we don't have to like interact with those people. You just have to set it up in a way where they can go through the side yard, read the rules, make sure that they take care of the space. And, you know, our whole platform is going to be built on trust, like AirBNB. So you're going to leave a review for the people. You want to make sure that you keep your profile in good standing and stuff. You're not going to go in and, you know, beat the place up and not take care of it. So we're excited.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, you know, at first thought or first glance, you know, I assume for most people, especially the owners of the batting cage, would be nervous because it's like you're having new people come to your house and stuff like that. But just like you said, I'm a huge fan of Airbnb, and my wife and I, whenever we go anywhere, we usually use one of those sites to book a place, because they usually have super cool places to stay, and they're usually a lot more affordable than the hotels too. So we've just fell in love with them, and it's always worked out super smooth. Like the people that do it are always really cool. There's never been any issues. And, you know, all the point I'm trying to make is even though it may seem scary, it's probably all going to be just fine, and everything is going to be super smooth, because the people looking to rent your place are not going to do anything to mess it up, because they want to come back there.
Exactly. So, I mean, and plus the owner of the cage has an opportunity to look at the profile of the person, you know, make sure that they look like a normal person, just like Airbnb doesn't have to. You can set it to automatically approve, or you can set it to make it so that you have to see who it is, kind of, you know, take a glance at their profile, their reviews and stuff. So if they have a bunch of negative reviews, then maybe you're just going to pass on them. But if they look fine, then you're going to say, okay. And then, you know, the cool thing about it is that you could be sitting there eating dinner with your family from 5 to 7 p.m. And if you're charging $30 an hour for your cage, you could just see that in the backyard, people are coming through and using it. But all of a sudden you just got basically $60, but I mean, minus the fees, you know, but put into your account, just because you have that backyard space. And that's just an ongoing thing. You're probably going to start having your regulars, and you know that once you get it up and running and you keep improving it, then over time it's going to be a nice, hearty little extra piece of income that's going to be coming in for your family.
That's really cool. When you said that, I was imagining myself eating dinner and having a cage in the backyard with some kids out there swinging, like some older. In my head, I was imagining like high school age kids swinging. And I have a 3-year-old son right now, and I just think that would be super cool for him to see and have that in his backyard and have the experience. Because I think environment is huge for kids coming up, and if you have that environment right there at your house, and your own children can get in there and do what they need to do whenever they want. Shoot, I'm ready to buy a cage. You sell the cages too?
That's a good question. I mean, that'll be a goal, over time. I hope for us to be a good partner with batting cage manufacturers, because like I said, with all the people that are on the fence due to price, a lot, like out here in LA, it's hard. There's not a lot of big backyards. So it's not like there's a ton, at least in the LA area. Northern California is probably a little more accessible to have a big backyard. But in Phoenix, like where I'm from, everybody has a massive backyard. Like it's normal to have a big backyard where you could build a batting cage. So, but yeah, like if you are growing up and you're a dad who you're like, come on, let's go practice. And the son's like, no, I want to play Fortnite or whatever. Like, you can, just naturally, I think if people are starting to use it, that'll be another advantage, because the kids are going to be like, oh, I want to go see that guy hit, and you can just sort of hang back and watch if you want, or you can just be totally hands off and just have the money inserted into your account. So,
yeah, that's cool. I remember the first time I was a young player in Little League, and I remember going to my first high school game, watching the big boys play. And I was just amazed about like how fast it was and like how big and strong they were and the things they were doing. And it just caught my attention so much. And just when you were saying that, I thought about having that in the backyard, and having my son be able to witness that at an early age, to give him that feeling and that passion that I got when I first saw those high school players do it. That's really cool. The other thing I thought about too was from the facility standpoint, or even anyone who's renting the cage, is the SEO aspect. I've been doing YouTube for many years, and I've got a website. In fact, when I had the facility, I would get called any day there was a rainy day. I would get hundreds of phone calls because my website showed up number 1 for batting cage rentals. And that was because I was good at search engine optimization. And having a big site like CageList, you're going to have a lot more juice than these facilities that have just a website of their own and they put it up there. I'm assuming, I don't know, but as you grow, I'm assuming that the more people that start to post their cages on CageList, they're going to start to come up higher in the search rankings, because you're going to have such a big site versus Joe's hitting facility. He has a web page and he posts that, on Google, hey, here's my facility, come rent it. He's not going to rank as near as high as a CageList is, that's what they do. And you have tons and tons of pages and facilities. So that could be a huge asset to anyone trying to rent a cage for sure.
Definitely. And that's the goal. Like, I always considered as a full-time coach, like what would be the next steps to open a facility? And for me, it's just like with what I've been doing with private lessons, like it's just like, do I want to step into that other realm, or do I just want to keep it a little bit more hands off and do what I'm doing? And I've never wanted to like jump into owning a facility. So that's why, and with Corona too, and kind of like the uncertainty of how things are going to be moving forward in our world, I think having a outdoor facility where it's hands off, you don't have to be out there touching the poles, touching, all this stuff. The balls is the main thing I think that there might be a concern with there. But like, it's still social distancing. So it's going to be like a way to like have people in and out without crossing paths, without being in a big group of people. So a dad, if he wants to go train with his son and he wants to either have a pitching machine or just be able to throw to him over the L screen, now he's going to have this option out in, open space, open air, and not have to worry about being like shoulder to shoulder next to other people in a facility. So, well, I was just going to say with Corona, people not having so much income right now or just uncertainty there. if you have that asset in your backyard already, for me, it's a no-brainer. You know, I think for the majority of baseball guys, softball people, like it's a no-brainer. And the biggest question so far has been insurance. And I'm currently working with some of my old teammates, opponents actually. He was a left-handed pitcher that's an insurance agent now, and he's trying to work on just the overall best solution for the cage owners and for the users as well. So.
Yeah, another thing that comes to mind when you talked about the coronavirus too is I can't tell you how many facility owners have hit me up saying they're shut down and now they're trying to do the online stuff, but they have a huge overheads and they can't get in there. You know, one guy I was talking to had 2 facilities, $35,000 each in overhead a month. You know, so it's crazy to, you know, have something like that. I always heard this expression, I forget who said it, but you could either have a huge ship, you know, that turns very slowly and is very big and massive, or you can have a small boat and be able to move quickly through the waters, you know, and that's kind of like the backyard batting cage. Through this time, you know, that you don't have nearly as much overhead. You wouldn't be affected as much, if anything. And maybe now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of facilities closing across the country who couldn't maintain this month or 2 months that they had to shut down. So maybe this is an opportunity for them to downsize their ship, so to say, and you know, get into something a little bit smaller where there's less overhead. And or for a guy who's just starting up, you know, that might be the route to start up, because you know it's tough to have a full facility, and especially in an area where it's, you know, a business area. And you know, I can imagine it's got to be close to, even if you had like a small 1 cage warehouse thing, you got to be looking at probably $3,000 a month at minimum just to get rolling, versus you know, and that's a month. If you have something in the backyard, you might have that $3,000 the one time and you own the land, you know.
Exactly. So, and assuming that that's your family home and you're not going anywhere, like you could be, depending on how good your cage is, I think probably 60 is like what I've maxed it out. If you have like just 2 baller mounds that are like clay and, you know, like a nice big cage and iron mic machine, the L screen, you just have the whole works and turf and everything. I think probably like $60 would probably be what I would cap it at, like maybe 50 even. But, you know, then you have that if you're the best one on the block and you're having that 3 to 4 hours a day, what is that? You know, up to $200 possibly per day just going into your account, which, you know, 200 times 5, that's 1,000, up to 4,000 a month. I mean, I believe that's like an ideal scenario, but I think that's a reasonable scenario. If you have a really nice cage that you've invested in, that's 4,000 a month. You're looking at an additional, you know, almost $50,000 a year. So appealing.
It definitely is. You know, I got a buddy I went to school with. He's been on my YouTube channel a couple times, Chris Marlowe of Light Tower Baseball. And over the last, I want to say it's only been probably 2 years, but he started off with a net in the backyard. Then it became a wall. Then he turfed out a little area, and now he's got it covered, and he's got 2 cages. He's got all kinds of training stuff in there. It's one of the coolest freaking places I've ever seen, and it's right in his backyard. And I'm like, man, I want that. You know, I want something like that. Unfortunately, I have no land at all I'm in a, you know, homeowners community, but my whole goal is to move to a place where I could build something like he has there. Me personally, for more personal reasons and shooting videos and stuff like that, but right. And for my son. But I mean, if I can make a couple extra bucks on the side, why not? You know, it's just a no-brainer.
Right. And I think that's how Airbnb has disrupted the market too. You know, like people are thinking to themselves, should we buy this space, you know, as an investment for our retirement or whatever? You know, like, okay, I don't know, I'm weighing it out. Oh, well, let's just put it on Airbnb. Because Airbnb, if you put it on there and it's a decent place, it will get rented. That's, you know, they've completely disrupted the entire industry. So, you know, for everybody in baseball, I haven't had one person say like, that's a bad idea, that's not going to work. You know, like everybody that understands baseball that wants, you know, and a guy like your buddy, he's built it out because he's probably a coach, I assume, and he probably wanted it for his own personal reasons as well, to train himself. But now the dads in the neighborhood that are like, no, I can teach my son by myself. I don't need to hire a private coach, which I totally advocate. And I think that's great, especially if they know what they're doing. Then, now they have that opportunity to not use you as a coach, but use your facility. And then maybe over time, if you're out there, then maybe you'll get a lesson from it also. So that's another aspect of the platform for private coaches who have those backyard facilities. We haven't really integrated a intricate feature for that. It's just like, do you offer private lessons? Yes or no. That's a soft, like warm connection right there that you can potentially get for a new guy that, I wanted to use your cage. Oh, can I pay you $50 for a lesson also? Bam, you got a new client. So
right. Yeah, that's so cool. It's funny you say that because he wasn't a coach. I mean, he helped coach his sons. He has sons, and he just wanted to build something for them at first, but now I see him in there. He's training all kinds of guys, and he had a full-time job. He still does, but I'm pretty sure he could quit that job if he wanted to now because of what he built and what he's doing now. So it's really, really cool what he has done over there, and now just having this platform that something like you're providing is, I assume, a no-brainer to someone like that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited about it, man. I'm hoping it can help a lot of those families that, struggle. It can be 500 plus per month for a serious travel ball kid, like that's expensive. So yeah. I hope that this is an opportunity to fund some of that in addition to, like I said, helping just the local community of players, just creating more access. So
that's so cool. Now, can we talk a little bit about your experience in baseball and where you where you started playing, where you went to, where you ended up finished playing, and then how you got into CageList?
Definitely. So I'm a left-handed pitcher. I was a left-handed starting pitcher. Played indie ball for 7 years. Got to play in Mexico for a year. Played in Australia. Played in Canada for a few years, and then finished up in Czech Republic. So I got to go play in a little beer league in Czech Republic, which was really fun. But started in Frontier League. Some of your listeners probably understand indie ball. You know what the Frontier League is, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did you play indie ball at all?
No, I didn't.
You stopped after affiliated?
Yeah, I got a bunch of calls right when I got released from affiliated ball, but I was just so over it. I was like, nah, I'm done. So
you're smart though, man. You got on the content immediately. You had the awareness right away. That was good.
Yeah, you know what it was? Well, you remember the BlackBerry phones?
Yeah.
Where you could like scroll down the side and you can get your email. And I was just like, whoa, you can get your email on a phone? I was just mind blown. And I was still playing at the time. And I was like, let me just shoot some, because YouTube was new at the time too. And I was like, let me just shoot some videos and throw them up there about what I'm doing in pro ball. And then luckily it stuck around. So I had something to fall back on when I got done. So yeah, luckily. What's funny is I noticed that baseball players, when they get out of baseball, a lot of them go into business and start things like you're starting CageList. I started my online YouTube business, and a lot of guys get into business. My theory is that we're really good at failing because of baseball. So we get into business and we're just like, whatever, all these obstacles that come at us, we just keep going. We may not be the smartest people in business, but we just keep grinding it out and figure it out until it works. So that's my theory anyway.
That's well said, for sure. I agree. Yeah, man. So I played first 2 years in Windy City. It was awesome. It was like a fairy tale. We ended up winning the championship both years because that was actually 3 years out of not playing. I played my freshman year of junior college at South Mountain Community College, and then I went on a full ride up to Washington State University. First day I was there, they told me I wasn't going to get cleared to play because my hip was all jacked up. I had a really arthritic hip because I had something called leg calf Perthes disease when I was 7. So I had a limp, and like I didn't realize how bad my hip was by the time I got to Washington State. But I mean, I was eating like 12 ibuprofen a day and like had limited mobility, but I was still able to get out on the mound and throw 6 innings and just kind of grind through it, So and I was a lefty, which definitely helped, and I was throwing 90 with a good curveball. So
was it your right hip or your left hip?
It was my drive, my left hip. So if it was my right hip, I probably wouldn't have been able to last. But since it was my drive hip and I could kind of control the torque on it a little bit more, it was fine. It's still fine to this day. In July, it'll be 15 years since I've had the hip replacement, and
Wow.
you know, it's not normal I'm 34. It's not normal for a 19-year-old to have a hip replacement. It's very rare. But I got it done because I was a candidate based on the condition of my hip at the time. And the doctor was like, you know, I don't recommend you playing. Well, the doctor in Washington State was like, I'm not going to clear you to play. You should try to wait until you're 30 to get it done. I was like, that's not on my agenda. So I'm going to go get a second opinion here. Nevertheless, they didn't let me play that year. And then I transferred to U of A. I had the surgery that summer after my sophomore year. I rehabbed my junior year. I was ready to go again, throwing 88 to 90 my senior year, like work my butt off, eyes on the prize every day. Got a shot, didn't get cleared to play by U of A, even though the coach was like, you can come out for fall. Like he showed me that he respected me a ton and like gave me a shot. He's like, you just have to get cleared to play. The doctor there wouldn't clear me to play because I had a hip replacement, and it was kind of unprecedented, you know. Bo Jackson is the only other guy in professional sports to ever have a total hip replacement.
Wow.
So I just found out Colby Lewis, the guy, the pitcher for the Rangers, I think he just ended his career like 3 years ago. He had a hip resurfacing, which is similar, but it's not quite. I mean, a hip replacement, like they like go in, they saw off the femoral head that goes into your pelvis. They like literally saw it off, and then they jam a big rod down your femur, and then there's something sticking out of that, and then they put a ball on top of that little nub, and then that goes into a cup. So
wow.
super common surgery. It sounds crazy, but like it's a very, very common surgery. It's just normally done on older people, you know, like 60, 65 and up. So it's not normal that anybody comes back to play sports, let alone professional sports, from it. So pitched 7 years with it, but I didn't play for 3 full years in college. I didn't play my sophomore year at Washington State. Then I got the surgery. I rehabbed my junior year. Didn't play my senior year either. Thought I was done. Went to a tryout for the White Sox in Tucson and threw like the best bullpen of my life. Thought I was done up until 2 days before that. A scout mentor of mine told me, like, just go throw this tryout, see what happens. And I did. I ended up getting a scout there by the name of J.J. Lally. Hope he's listening out there, but he's probably not. But J.J. was just a legend. He ended up getting me a chance to go to spring training in Windy City. I drove out 2 weeks late for the spring training, not knowing that I wasn't like totally on the team. I thought since I signed a contract, it was just like signed, sealed, delivered. I'll be there when I can make it. I was just a fresh, young ignoramus at the time, and showed up, but threw really well for the 2 times I got to throw, thankfully. And Andy Haynes, who was our manager that year, he was a rookie manager. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that he kept me around. Like he was pretty fresh also. He's only 30 years old and managing our team. He's now the big league hitting coach for the Milwaukee Brewers, Andy Haynes. So he gave me a shot. First half, I ended up going 8-0 out of the bullpen, which was crazy. Made the all-star team. Pitched the second inning. This is all after not pitching for 3 years and having a total hip replacement. So made the all-star team, pitched the second inning in the all-star game. That was like a little fairy tale too. We went on to win the championship. I got MVP of the championship that year. Nice. I was a baseball player again. It was pretty awesome. And then came back to Windy City the next year. We started the season off rough. Our manager got fired halfway through. We ended up just going on a tear. We won 20 out of 22 games at one point on the second half. Wow. We ended up winning the championship the second year also. So I got picked up. You had said I got picked up by the – first I got picked up by the White Sox. JJ was a scout for the White Sox. He tried to give me a chance. They told me that I couldn't get cleared to play because of my hip. I was in this like vortex of like, why am I able to play an indie ball, but why am I not allowed to play an affiliated ball? So that was just the first time. The human resources department said that like I wasn't going to get a chance because I was too big of a risk. So I was like, whatever, okay, I'll keep going. So then pitched my butt off the next year. I was the number 6 prospect in Baseball America for independent ball players, and thought I was just on my way. I ended up throwing a bullpen for the Padres. I got signed there that day. I actually signed a contract. They're like, we got you. We just want you to go take some x-rays and we'll confirm it a little later today. They called me 5 hours later. They said, hey, I'm sorry. I know you signed that contract, but it's void and null. We're not going to clear you to play after all because of your hip replacement.
Oh, man. What year was that with the Padres?
That was 08, after 08.
So, in 07, I think it was, they signed Dykstra for he was like a first rounder. And it might have actually been 08. It might have been right before you signed. And he had hip problems. And he had hip problems his whole time, and I think maybe that's when the Padres started cracking down and trying to check on guys, because I just saw on his Instagram he just got his hip replaced recently, like now, and he's got to be 30. He's got to be 30. I don't know, maybe 6 or 35 years old now, and he just got his hip replaced for playing. But he was a big draft guy for the Padres right around that same time, and I think they're probably like, hold on, we got to check these hips now when these guys come in.
Right, they had me like do shuffles and karaoke's, and like they're all kind of looking at me like what are you doing like right here? You're not supposed to be doing this. Like your hip's gonna wear out in 5 to 10 years, and then you're gonna have to get a new hip. And that's the thing that they're like most worried about, like the liability in the future. And I think being tagged for that liability if I ever made it to the big leagues and then I had problems, I don't know if they thought they were going to have to pay me big league salary for the rest of my life or something like that. I told them that, I had a lawyer, I had everybody in my corner. I was like, just tell me whatever pieces of paper you want me to sign. I swear to God, I'm not going to keep you, have you liable for anything that happens to my hip. Like, just give me a chance, By that time, I was throwing 93 also. Like, I was getting better every day. I was a lefty throwing. I topped at 94. I ended up going to Mexico in 2010. But 2009, I went 9-0 before, or I was 8-0 before All-Star break. I started the All-Star game in the Golden League. I played for the team called the Victoria Seals. That was a pretty damn good league too. So there's just a lot of AA, AAA guys in that league, and I had a scout come in the dugout after I pitched the first inning in the All-Star game. He's like, I'm Steve Peck with the Boston Red Sox, and we're going to sign you. And I was like, before I said awesome and celebrate, I was like, because it had already happened twice. I was like, I have a hip replacement, right? I'm not hiding that. There's nothing hide. You saw me pitch. I have a hip replacement. He's like, we know everything. It's totally fine. We just want to fly you to Boston. Have you seen by our people, and we're probably going to send you to AA here after you get done with Boston. I was like, this is a dream. Awesome. So I go there, I sit there for 2 days, and they send me back because I had a hip replacement. They weren't going to clear me to play. So then I ended up going to Mexico because I was doing well. I got number 6 prospect again that year, and 2 years in a row I got the number 6 overall prospect, and both years I was the top left-handed prospect in the nation for Baseball America. So wow. Left-handed pitching. So I went to Mexico to try to make a little bit of money. I had my agent at the time, very well connected there in Mexico. He got me there, and then I was going to try to play in Japan, and because like I clearly wasn't getting an opportunity, no matter how well I pitched, to play affiliated ball in America. So I wanted to go to Japan and then like sort of roundabout try to work my way into the big leagues if I could make it to the big leagues in Japan and prove it there. And it was like I said, it was just this like vortex. The first day I was at Windy City, they had me sign one little notarized piece of paper that said, I won't keep you guys liable. I won't hold you liable for anything that happens to my hip. And I had to sign off on it. And I had to go with the GM and get it notarized at the local bank. I was like, why can't I just do this for affiliated ball? So in Mexico, they didn't have a problem either. And then, I played in Winnipeg after that. In 2011, I was opening day starter there. Had a pretty good season. Then I went to the Bridgeport Bluefish in Atlantic League in 2012. And then from there, I was just like, I don't know. Like I was 6 seasons doing pretty well. I was like, I'm just going to go play in Czech Republic. I got an opportunity. Just went there for 3 months and had a blast. And then played one more season in Arizona the next year. there's this little league called the Freedom Professional Baseball League. I think that was when I discovered you. That was like 2013 or 14. Like, who is this guy making all this content on YouTube? And that's when I was in SEO actually in the beginning too. That's like how I was kind of able to put together CageList. And, you know, I always had a passion for being the best. And on the internet, like, there's so much to learn. So you figure, okay, I can be the best on the internet. I can show up number one if I know how to do what I'm doing and I grind it out. So that's what I sort of like web development and like just SEO in general and how the internet works. So that's all of that brought me to CageList today. You know, because I was doing Made Baseball is like my brand for kids and just teaching kids. It's basically just me and a couple other coaches, but like we don't have a facility. We just run off of a brand instead of saying, you know, instead of you being John Madden Baseball, you're a You Go Pro. Instead of me being Isaac Hess Baseball, I'm Made Baseball, and got some hats and t-shirts. But just doing lessons out here and need the coronavirus to go away so I can get back out at the park. But in the meantime, if CageList starts taking off, then maybe I can use someone's backyard cage out here and be able to rent it out and still do social distancing and stay out of like the park ranger's eyes, because right now we're not even supposed to be out there. So.
Oh yeah, I over here in Tampa. I'm about an hour from Tampa. Tom Brady just got banged for playing catch in the park over there. They went to go tell him, hey sir, you can't be out here at the park playing catch, and they rolled up and it was Tom Brady. So, and then the lady goes, Tom Brady has been cited, and everyone, like the internet took, you know, oh my God, they gave him a ticket. They couldn't believe it, you know, and it went viral. They gave Tom Brady a ticket. And then she came out the next day and she was like, no, I meant cited. Like, we saw him. We didn't cite him. We just told him he had to get out of the field. So, yeah, it's crazy. But I think we're allowed now, just on Monday in Florida, I think we're allowed now to get back out to the field. I'm not 100% sure about that, but
I hope so, yeah.
Hopefully you guys are not too far behind.
Yeah.
Do you have a baseball close by you by chance?
Do I have a baseball? I do. Hold on one second. Where did I put my glove?
I wanted to ask you what pitches you threw, how you hold them, how you grip them, and what you're thinking about when you're throwing them.
So my bread and butter was fastball, four-seam fastball, just regular. I was very much bulldog when it came to trying to get you out. It wasn't fancy. It was just, here it is, see if you can hit it. That's what I teach my pitchers, you know, pound the zone, get ahead, be fearless. What I'm thinking when I'm holding the fastball is just try to minimize friction on the ball. Just try to hold it with the minimum amount of pressure with my fingers here, have my wrist be as loose as possible, and have as much space here as possible while still feeling like I'm in full control of the ball. So four-seamer there. I always liked it as a lefty with the horseshoe inside. So if that were for a righty, that would be like that. Some guys like it like this. That never felt real comfortable for me. So that was four-seamer. And then two-seamer, I didn't throw that often, but I just threw basic two-seamer here. I tinkered with this sometimes, but that didn't really work for me either. I tinkered a little bit with like moving my fingers around, but I was literally like 97% four-seam fastball. I would throw a two-seamer here and there, but usually it would just get hit. So
what was your arm angle on the four-seam, and what kind of movement did you get?
I always got like running up and away. Everybody told me that it felt like I was throwing a rise ball. So a lot of lefties get that natural run on the ball, right? I never tried to make it do that, but I would just release it, and it would oftentimes go away from a righty. And until I started getting more command and getting on top of the ball, like if I kept my arm here at all, like I would be a little bit under it and it would rise, which sort of served me to be effectively wild. I would like shoot to hit down and in on a righty and miss up and away and get a swing and a miss. That happened a lot, but I was over the top for sure. I mean, I was here, chest leading, elbow leading, and definitely no sidearm. Pretty much standard mechanics over the top. Tried to keep it really simple. And then I threw curveball. I mean, I always tell I threw a changeup too, but like I really had a tough time with the changeup my whole life, and I didn't study it enough. I didn't have confidence in it enough. I think if I would have thrown a changeup consistently, especially in hitters counts, and had the confidence to do that, I think I would have been twice the pitcher I was. That's what I teach all my guys now, you know, from the young age. As soon as they start pitching, I try to teach them to fall in love with the changeup and like really develop it. But I was always a curveball guy. I started throwing a curveball when I was 12, and I had a really good natural curveball that like I could control. I could throw it 2-0. I could throw it 3-2. You know, so that was good. I threw the curveball. There's two-seamer. I just climbed up the side. Pretty standard. Most guys either throw it like this. You can see my little weird nubby finger. I cut part of my finger off when I was 7 years old. So
oh man,
I always think if I hadn't have done that, maybe I would have gotten a little bit of extra spin on the ball too. But or maybe it helped too. So some guys throw it like this at the bottom of the horseshoe. I climb up and throw it at the top. And I never knuckled it like this. I don't know if you knuckled it, but like that never served me either. I think maybe because I had the nub finger. I always kept this finger here. And then I just tried to get that nice clean top spin on the ball.
Where's your thumb placement at on that?
So here, it's right here on this seam.
Okay. And then what about on the four seam with the thumb?
Right under.
Okay, cool.
So it's based almost the same. It's just a little bit more to the side with the curveball, like just nestled inside that seam. So I would try to feel myself. I would try to feel the grab inside that seam. It would kind of help me feel like I could get that turnover even more. But for anybody out there that's, you know, pitching guys that's listening, I think the key is to try not to do too much. You know, try not to make a curve. Just be able to spin it. And especially from a young age, don't like just let your arm work for you. Let your arm get out in front and let your arm be loose and free instead of trying to grit your teeth and think I got to make this thing nasty. Most of the time, if you just let it be free and easy, then and just think about getting that spin, then it's going to be a lot more effective for you.
Was it 12-6 or did it have some side run?
It was mostly 12-6. I started developing kind of multiple curveballs after my second, third year. So, I mean, I was a big walk guy. Like I had like 60 strikeouts and 40 walks in my first year, but I was always able to grind through. And I mean, I would come in the seventh or the eighth and, you know, I would walk two guys and then strike out two and get a pop-up. So that was pretty common.
What was your highest velocity on the fastball?
In Mexico in 2010, I hit 94 a handful of times. But I was more like 88 to 92 most of my career. So.
And then what was some of the things that you did to develop your velocity, let's say from, you know, high school on into pro ball? Like what were some of the big things that really helped you velocity wise?
Well, in high school, I just had one main coach mentor that, you know, would just kind of watch my bullpens and give me confidence and give me a couple tips on my mechanics, but I never did any private lessons. You know, like it's such a different landscape out there with private lessons and stuff like that. So I wasn't real keen on mechanics except for some of the stuff my coach told me. Like I didn't study nearly as much as I should have been. There wasn't access the same way. So as it is now with Instagram and being able to watch all these like overlay videos and grips and everything, like these kids are so lucky now. So what I did ultimately was after I got my hip replacement, especially, my main priority was just to be healthy as much as possible and take good care of my hip and keep that strong, which I think that really helped. I started doing yoga a lot. Yoga was like an integral part of my path, and I think that helped my velocity. I did my band work. I was big on long toss, but I wasn't like one of those guys that was like, okay, go over the fence 700 feet away and I'm just going to try to throw it as absolutely far as I can. You know, I'm always teaching guys to listen to your body. If you go out one day and your program that's written down is to just throw, you know, 100 throws at 120 feet or something, but your arm is feeling crisp after that, like stretch it out farther. Just get whatever you can out of that day, and then if it's you're supposed to go farther and your arm is telling you to shut it down, You got to listen to your body and try to be real in tune with what your body is telling you, and push it when you can and pull back when it tells you to pull back.
That's huge, man. And I don't think we hear that from pros enough, because there's so many programs out there right now. Don't get me wrong, programs are good. There's beneficial to know the numbers and know the science and have a program, but it's also super important, I think, to do like you said and have feel, whether it be feel of your arm when you're throwing and understand your arm. And same in the gym too. Like if you're just dead dog tired but you've got a heavy workload of legs and squats and crazy stuff in the gym, maybe you take that day off or skip that day or push it back a day or two. You got to be smart with it as well. And I think a lot of injuries these days, because we see a ton of injuries these days, and it's because, one, I think from overuse, and two, from just trying to do too much too soon, I think, at least. And I think the way you said it was perfect. Just have a feel and have a understanding of how your arm feels and your body feels, because that's, besides the program, is huge. I like the way you said that. That was really cool.
Right. And I mean, I think that lends to the idea of pitching too, like just throw what works that day. Like you don't have to be married to whatever is your best stuff. Like fall back on your strengths. If it's a situation where it's 3-2, full count, bases loaded, you're up by 1, and the best hitter's up, and you got to throw a strike, you're probably going to want to do what has gotten you there. But if you're grinding it out and you can't find your inside fastball, and you usually pitch inside, but outside you're just painting all day, like just stick with it. Do whatever is working for you. And what I tell my guys, especially my older guys, is like try to have a profound respect for your body and try to be in sync with it as much as possible. And also, if you have that competitive gear, then like that should be in high gear all the time. You're always trying to maximize as much as you can, but you also have to not have an ego about that gear. You have to try to just find a healthy balance. So.
Let me ask you this. Who were some of your role models growing up, and like what was your motivation to get into baseball?
My pitching coach was definitely a role model of mine. His name was Tom Novak. He's actually the pitching coach over at Mesa Community College in Arizona now. He's been there for a long time. There's a guy named Tony Sorelli who's been like, I want to say like 30 years at Mesa Community College. He was a real big positive influence on me. And then after I started in pro ball, my mom was definitely a huge influence. She just always supported me 100% and always had my back, and always wanted to do really well for her also. But after I started pro ball, I met a guy named Mac Newton who had a double hip replacement. He's the one that rehabbed Bo Jackson back from his hip replacement. He's like super, super motivational guy. He had his first son when he was like 68 years old. So he's like just spitting asparagus bullets is what I always say. Like, this is a super healthy guy, like made us like be on the program and like just pushed us really hard. I was working out with Matt Kemp when Matt Kemp was like in arbitration year that year. It was like his 3rd season. He was a rising star. He was working out right next to me in Mac Newton's class. Junior Spivey, I don't know if you remember who that is, but he was like still trying to stay in the game. He was working out with us too. So that guy inspired me like tremendously to keep moving and keep staying on my path. Mark Burley, I love Mark Burley. He was drafted by another one of my huge mentors, John Kazanis, who is still to this day a MLB scout for the Chicago White Sox. So he's the one that told me to go to that tryout in Tucson. He's like, just go. If nothing happens, at least you can hang it up and know that you went to that tryout, and then call it good after that. And so if I wouldn't have gone to that tryout, we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. I probably would be, doing something else than baseball. So thankfully he did that. And those are some of the big ones for sure. My first year manager, Andy Haynes, he was awesome, super encouraging. I think when you really like know what you want and you know that you want to be there, like, and you have that clarity and there's no doubt in your mind, like you naturally attract the right people into your life And, you know, if you're always open for it, then those are always going to be coming for you. So.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Isaac, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. I think it's really cool, everything you got going on now outside of baseball. Well, I guess it's still inside of baseball and softball. CageList is not only for baseball players, for softball players as well. And not only for hitting. You know, we think of a cage as for hitting, but, you know, if you got a pitching mound too, you can rent that out as well, right?
Right.
Where can people follow you at? Of course, CageList.com, but where can they follow you out otherwise?
We're on Instagram for CageList, also just at CageList. We're growing that page. And then something else that I was going to say, if I can plug this real fast, was
sure.
we're doing virtual baseball classes for Made Baseball. So if you go to madebaseball.com, Made stands for motivation, appreciation, dedication every day. It's kind of corny. We
Nice.
say get made. You know, champions aren't born, they're made. So
I like that.
yeah, for sure. So you can go on the website there if you're possibly interested. Most of our kids are anywhere from 10 to 15. We've had good little 10 to 15 years old. We have some pretty good classes. We just talk baseball. We do workouts during the classes as well. We do some baseball drills. It's been a blast. Those are Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2:15 Pacific time if anybody's interested. And yeah, just keep on the lookout. If you're listening to this, I would definitely encourage you to go sign up for CageList, whether you're a user or especially if you're a cage owner. It's new, and we're always going to be kind of geared towards helping out our new users as well, having the support go both ways. So that's where you can find us.
Sweet, man. When we get off this call, I'm getting on the phone with my buddy Chris Marlowe with the cage up there. I'm going to tell him about it because that's it. I mean, he's the guy. He's like the perfect fit, I believe, for that. Any of you other guys listening who want some extra content and stuff like that during this time we're stuck inside, Made Baseball sounds like the way to go. So check them out. You said it was madebaseball.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, Isaac, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time and telling us everything you got going on. We truly appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you soon.
For sure. Thanks, John. Appreciate you, man.
No problem.
All right. Take care, bud.